I want to talk about Sony and the PlayStation Network for a little bit. I've noticed a huge disparity between the PlayStation Network and other services, with the exception being Nintendo, because Nintendo is just on a completely different level. They don't know what the hell they're doing, especially with the voice chat and all that. So if you think PlayStation Network is bad, Nintendo is at least twice as bad. But I think what makes PlayStation Network so awful is that you're paying $60 a year, which is the same amount as Xbox Live, which is $60 more than Steam. And you notice that compared to Xbox Live and Steam, PlayStation Network just has so much more problems, right? You've had some instances where, Steam was hacked, and information was compromised. You've had some instances where Xbox Live was compromised, but not to the level of 2011 when Sony, it was one of the biggest hacks in history. People's credit card information stolen, the network being down for over a month. And, back then people were kind of like defending Sony, saying, well, it's free and, it's a free service and you shouldn't complain because it's not like you're paying a subscription. But then they started charging subscriptions when the PlayStation 4 came out. And what happened? It happened like 2 Christmases in a row, or 3 Christmases in a row. How many times on Christmas was the PlayStation Network just down? One time it was down because, in 2013, it was down because it was flooded, it was too much traffic for it to handle. So it couldn't handle, it didn't expect traffic. It couldn't handle the traffic that it got. So on Christmas, the PlayStation Network was down. I remember that's when I got my PlayStation 4, was Christmas 2013. And I tried to play some online games and it wouldn't work because the network was overloaded. So, okay, and you're paying $60 a year at this point. But then you have these, the Lizard Squad, the next year, also took down the PlayStation Network on Christmas Day. And I can name so many other instances of the PlayStation Network just being down, and just them. It's just, the PlayStation Network is broken, okay? I remember last year or 2 years ago, there was a hashtag spreading on Twitter. It was called hashtag Better PSN or Fix PSN, something like that. And Sony was like, we understand, we acknowledge what you're saying. This is back when it was $50. Then they raised the price to $60, and it hasn't changed at all. The network is really slow. I don't know what the hell is up with the PlayStation Network. I think they need to fire all their engineers, to be honest with you, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They need to just start from scratch. All the engineers that they have working on the PlayStation Network, just fire all of them, because they do not know what the hell they are doing. And it's just a joke that you're paying $60 a year and you're getting a subpar service. Xbox Live, if you look at the service, Xbox Live, it's just so much smoother, so much better. But the reason why Sony is so far ahead of Xbox Live is simply because Microsoft has no games. If Microsoft actually was on par with Sony when it came to first-party titles, then Microsoft wouldn't be trailing behind Sony as much as they are right now. But that's like the only thing that Sony really has going on right now with the PlayStation brand is the games. But the service is just awful. Like, I expect this crap from Nintendo, but oh my god, Sony. I'm sure you guys know what's inspiring me to make this video. It's the name change. When I saw the article, I was like, oh my god, this is worse. Honestly, this is worse than something Nintendo would do. They have this Nintendo, as you know, has this stupid thing where you have to go in an app to do voice chat. You can't do it natively on the console. And that's just, like, ridiculous. But now Sony's offering name change because Xbox Live has it, Steam has it, most services have it except for Nintendo and Sony. But Sony is trying to, I guess, try to be on par with its competition because that was one thing that Microsoft had. You know, how many people created their accounts when they were, what, 10 years old, 12 years old? I was 12 years old when I created my gamer tag on Xbox, and thankfully I was able to change it. But with Sony, I had to keep creating new accounts and creating new accounts and creating new accounts until I just stuck with my current gamer tag, which is MrNoobTubeGamer on PlayStation and Xbox, because Sony does not allow name changes, and when you're paying a $60 a year subscription that's already prepaid, you're not going to make a new account and pay another $60 for the subscription. So, and not to mention all the trophies and the save data and all that you would lose if you decided to start from scratch and make a new PSN. So when people are saying just make a new PSN, yeah, that's the problem with that. But you might as well make a new PSN, because this is not a solution that people are looking for. It's not. They're doing this stupid shit where you have to, you change your name. It's free the first time, which, okay, is cool. Yeah, I think Microsoft does that too. But then you have to pay $10 for every name change, which Microsoft also does, so that's like fine. But you're presenting yourself as being equal to Microsoft's service, but Microsoft doesn't have it where if you change your name, you might lose access to games that you paid for and be never able to access them again. I guarantee you, this might, if this stays, there might be some lawsuits coming. If people lose access to their games and this becomes a widespread issue and Sony can't fix it. I mean, I don't even know. I hope anyone watching this video does not plan on using this feature, because you will. What's having a cringy name that you made when you were 12 years old compared to losing all your games. It's like, it's not even an even trade-off. It really isn't. You might as well make a new account at that point. Or the easiest thing would just be stick with your shitty username. How many people have shitty usernames? So it's not like you're alone. It's not worth it. Do you want to lose hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars of titles that you've spent on, just so your name doesn't look that bad? Do you really want that? Honestly? Wow, it's just such a joke. I mean, the PlayStation Network is just a joke at this point. I mean, not to mention the free games are just laughable. I mean, lately they've been good, but usually there's just it's just shitty indie games. That's another thing with the PlayStation Network. Most of the games that are on sale is just crappy indie games. Loading the PlayStation Store takes forever sometimes. It takes a long time to load almost anything. Opening messages and all that. It's just, sometimes the party chat won't work. And, mind you, it works perfectly fine, the Xbox, so it's not like an internet thing. It's not like no problem on my end. It's just that the PlayStation Network is just a garbage service. It hasn't improved a single bit since the PlayStation 3 days. And the PlayStation 3 days, people were defending it because, well, it might not be as good as Xbox Live, but it's free, so you can't complain. And I was kind of on that camp back in the day, saying that, because it's a trade-off. You don't have to pay a premium to play online, but then occasionally you'll have some problems with connecting, and things will be slow. But the PlayStation 4 hasn't improved a single bit. They come out with all these updates. They're on what, 6.1, 6.3? How many updates is I feel like every week there's a damn update. There's a goddamn update every week, but they don't improve the goddamn service one bit. I don't understand that. What the hell are they doing with all these updates? I have no idea. Looks like they're doing nothing. I try to play an online game. Oh, no, there's an update. So I have to sit around like a jackass wanting to play my game. Updates take a long-ass time. When you do an update on Xbox Live, it's like this. And you know me, I'm not a Microsoft fanboy. Look at my past videos. I am the last person that's going to defend Microsoft, generally. But you can't argue. It's a better service. Steam. Things are not nearly as slow on Steam. And it's free. Pretty much is free. PlayStation's supposed to be the top brand. But it doesn't feel like it, does it? I mean, sure, you have amazing, you have Spider-Man, you have God of War, you have amazing games, and, obviously when you're making a game console, games are the most important thing, which is something that Microsoft has not yet learned. But, wow, it's just like, sometimes when you're on this service, it feels awful. It doesn't feel like it's, that you're playing on the top brand. Does it? I don't think it does. So this is the only profitable brand that PlayStation has, and maybe in the short term, it's not going to cause any problems, but I guarantee you, if the PlayStation 5 is like this, and the PlayStation 5's coming soon, and they don't seem to know what the hell they're doing still. PlayStation 5 should be coming in like a year. If the PlayStation 5 online is as embarrassing as the PlayStation 4 has been and the PlayStation 3, and they still haven't learned their goddamn lesson, it's going to hurt them in the long run, because people are going to associate PlayStation Network with, just being slow and just being awful service. It's not a good service. So, I don't know. They need to get their act together, because Microsoft, they're lagging behind right now, but I think that they're going to step up their game next generation. So, it would really be in Sony's best interest to also step their game up. I mean, people are paying $60 a year. They're pretty much being extorted for that money. They should at least get something out of it. Like, come on already. It's an embarrassment. Sony should be embarrassed. But, they're not. They're still raking in the money. They don't give a shit. I understand that. They're a business. But eventually it's going to catch up to them. Especially if they don't significantly improve the PlayStation Network's infrastructure when the PlayStation 5 comes out. Because if it's still like this, it's going to hurt them down the line. It is going to hurt them. So, I mean, especially with the cross-play and all this other crap. I know that Sony's opening up the cross-platform now, and they're starting to, open up on that. But with almost everything else they do, no backwards compatibility, they're completely lacking in features, even though you're paying a premium for the service, and the competitor is offering so much more in terms of the service. I'm not talking about the games, I'm talking about the service. Sony is definitely ahead on games, but when it comes to service, Microsoft is definitely ahead. And that's been the case since the original Xbox. Sony needs to step up their game, though. And it's a tough situation, because people are not going to stop paying because they want to play with their friends. I think that's honestly the main reason why Sony didn't want to bend on the cross-platform thing, because if you have the PlayStation 4 version of the game, they're making money, and if you have cross-platform, you're kind of, disincentivizing people from buying the PlayStation 4 version. Because if you buy the PlayStation 4 version, you can play with your friends when there's no cross-platform. But if there is cross-platform, then it really doesn't matter what version you buy, and that's why Sony was so adamant to embrace it. But I guess they calculated that it was better off for their public image to open up their servers to other consoles. But you know what? I honestly, I think that overall the PlayStation Network is just it's just an embarrassment. It's a joke. I don't understand why the service is so bad when you're paying $60 a year. They raised the price. It's like the MTA. Anyone live in New York City that's watching this video, or any public transit, but New York City especially, the MTA. The service seems like it's getting worse over time, and they're raising the price. They're raising the fare. It's kind of like PlayStation Network. PlayStation Network is the MTA of game consoles. What does that say? Only a few people will appreciate that reference. So anyone who lives in the New York City area, I just rewarded you for sticking until the end. You got a nice MTA reference. But I've been rambling on for almost 16 minutes. I think it's time to end the video right now. So let me know what you guys think.